Daily Words of God.
God uses words to create all things. Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Genesis chapter 1, verses 6 through 7. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the middle of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Genesis chapter 1, verses 9 through 11. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together to one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called He seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth." And it was so. Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 15. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light on the earth." And it was so. Genesis chapter 1, verses 20 through 21. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." And God created great whales, and every living creature that moves, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 through 25. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle, and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind." And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps on the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. On the first day, the day and night of mankind are born and stand fast, thanks to the authority of God. Let us look at the first passage. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. This passage describes God's first act at the beginning of creation, and the first day that God passed, in which there was an evening and a morning. But it was an extraordinary day. God began to prepare the light for all things, and furthermore, divided the light from the darkness. On this day, God began to speak, and His words and authority existed side by side. His authority began to show forth among all things, and his power spread among all things as a result of his words. From this day onward, all things were formed and stood fast because of the words of God, the authority of God, and the power of God. And they began to function thanks to the words of God, the authority of God, and the power of God. When God said the words, "Let there be light," so there was light. God did not embark upon any enterprise. The light had appeared as a result of his words. This was the light that God called day, and which man still depends on for his existence today. By God's command, its substance and value have never changed, and it has never disappeared. Its existence shows forth the authority and power of God, and proclaims the existence of the Creator, and it confirms over and over the identity and status of the Creator. It is not intangible or illusory, but is a real light that can be seen by man. From that time onward, in this empty world in which the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, there was produced the first material thing. This thing came from the words of the mouth of God, and appeared in the first act of the creation of all things, because of the authority and utterances of God. Soon after, God ordered the light and the darkness to separate. Everything changed and was completed because of the words of God. God called this light day, and the darkness he called night. From that time, the first evening and the first morning were produced in the world God intended to create. And God said that this was the first day. This day was the first day of the Creator's creation of all things, and was the beginning of the creation of all things, and was the first time that the authority and power of the Creator had been shown forth in this world that he had created. Through these words, man is able to behold the authority of God, and the authority of God's words, and the power of God. Because only God is possessed of such power, and so only God has such authority. And because God is possessed of such authority, and so only God has such power. Could any man or object possess such authority and power as this? Is there an answer in your heart? Apart from God, does any created or non-created being possess such authority? Have you ever seen an example of such a thing in any other books or publications? Is there any record that someone created the heavens and earth and all things? It does not appear in any other books or records. These are, of course, the only authoritative and powerful words about God's magnificent creation of the world, which are recorded in the Bible. And these words speak for the unique authority of God and the unique identity of God. Can such authority and power be said to symbolize the unique identity of God? Can they be said to be possessed by God and God alone? Without a doubt, only God Himself possesses such authority and power. This authority and power cannot be possessed or replaced by any created or non-created being. Is this one of the characteristics of the unique God Himself? Have you witnessed it? These words quickly and clearly allow people to understand the fact that God is possessed of unique authority and unique power, and He is possessed of supreme identity and status. From the fellowship above, can you say that the God you believe in is the unique God Himself?